And when it comes to tripod shooting, the gear, it's my opinion anyways, that the gear drives the technique that you use.
Well,
cheers
on some iced coffee, bro. We made it. We here.
This is it's just really surreal to have you here, man.
Yeah, man.
It really is. So I never thought that in the beginning that we would even be looking at getting to the point of like this.
Yeah.
Like when I started doing this privately, like on my own.
Yeah.
I just was like, hey, I'm just gonna go do this, and I'm not in this to make a fucking gazillion dollars.
Yeah.
You know, I just want to do this, and I love what I do.
Yeah.
Work to live, right? That's it. That's all I want to do. I don't want to live to work. And it's like, I never thought that I'd have a fucking second. So it's pretty cool.
Nice, man, dude. I don't know if this was actually like rolling. But no, dude, I think I'm here, guys. So this is podcast 26. I'll have Caylen rolling the introduction here in a second, but we are live together. We got a camera rolling. So those that are going to see this through a video for the first time of us together. But I think we just hit... 8 months doing this Modern Day Sniper podcast?
Yeah, we released January 23rd or 24th.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. I didn't expect going into getting out of the Marine Corps and, you know, being able to work with kind of my idol, no homo.
Oh, man. You're making me blush.
As you know, I told Cassandra, you know, our relationship in terms of, you know, for a good analogy is the a Dr. Dre and Eminem analogy, bro. Yes. And you are for sure my Dr. Dre.
Dude, that's some big shoes to fill. I appreciate that. And you know, I just love doing what I do. And I think if you just follow that path,
yeah,
like, and you're just constantly focused on trying to figure out what it is that you're meant to do,
yeah,
right? And then figure out once you kind of narrow that down, and that seems like it takes forever, right? We never know exactly what the fuck we're gonna do, what we're supposed to do. But when it gets more and more narrow, you can like start identifying what kind of message it is that you want to put out there.
Yeah.
And the message is really important because, you know, with the intention comes the message.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so like intention has a lot to do with a lot of stuff. So
yeah.
Just really happy to have you here.
Cool. You want to roll this?
Let's roll it. So before we do this, let's see. Let's see what our stats are.
This is podcast 26, guys. By the way. This is just iced coffee. What you don't see, or you probably can kind of see it on my face right now. It's super hot in here. Outside, right, it's not hot in here, but it's hot outside.
Yeah, it is. It's hot outside. It tipped like 101 today. So we are at 130,839 downloads, and
that's 8 months.
Yeah. So we
no, 7 months. We started this in January.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So 1,604 subscribers. So appreciate that, guys. It's awesome. Thank you very much. It's super cool. So with that being said, what is the Modern Day Sniper podcast? First and foremost, welcome to episode 26, like Phil said. And for those of you guys who have not listened to us in the past, this is your first episode. What is the Modern Day Sniper podcast? What is it that we're all about? And really, we are about being constant students of our craft and learning constantly every time we go out to the range about what it means to be a modern day rifleman. And so whether you're a law enforcement professional, a military sniper, whether you are an enthusiast, a precision rifle competitor, a hunter, if you're listening to this, you're listening to this because you are very much like us and you're a student of your craft. So with that being said, welcome to episode 26 of the Modern Day Sniper podcast.
You know, it's cool. Just recently, as I guess our podcast is growing, I've seen a lot of people hit me up on Instagram, and it's like, hey, I've listened to you through the Modern Day Sniper podcast. And I think this kind of just sets us apart from the rest of the people in the industry because, another thing other than what is modern day sniper is the podcast, what is mindfulness behind the rifle.
Indeed.
And I think because we are able to put that information out there and put that connection out there, that we're not just sitting behind the rifle and slinging that out. As much as fun as that is, even today, which we'll get into here in a little bit, having the connection with the rifle, and having that purpose of, okay, what is my training focus today? It's, okay, understanding what these law enforcement officers are doing when they come through your course, you know what I mean, and their mindset. And I had a couple of fudge ups today just because of, being immersed in the competition world for so long, and some of the habits I picked up, having the bolt to the rear. We'll get into that. But yeah, I think, for those that are listening for the first time and seeing this, I think obviously we've got 25 episodes before this. So if you want to get about who we are, I'd obviously listen to the first one, then listen to 2 and 3, which is who Caylen and I are. And then I think 4 is what is mindfulness. I want to say that's 4 or 5.
I believe so.
Yeah. So, I would probably do it in that order. Or if you want, do our first episode, and then what is mindfulness behind the rifle, and hopefully you're able to identify what separates our podcast from the rest of the other precision rifle podcasts out there.
Yeah, it's just we just have a different message to put out, and it's kind of like you ever heard the term like dropping in, like when you drop in and all of a sudden you just you're like, all right, that's shut off. And you kind of close your eyes and you just get centered, right?
Yep.
Find your chi, if you want to call it that. But part of shooting for me is taking that pause and saying, all right, it's time to drop in.
Yep.
Not thinking about anything else. I'm focused on this specific task. And Rudy and I chatted about it quite a bit a couple weeks ago about what it means to just be present. And that just means that we're not thinking about anything other than right now, what's happening right in front of me.
Yeah.
And processing that stimulus, right? I'm not future tripping. I'm not thinking about what happened an hour ago.
Yeah.
I'm not even thinking about what happened if I missed the last shot.
Yeah.
It's like I'm trying to stay right here.
Yeah.
And that's not easy to do,
No.
right? That's not easy at all. It's a battle. And so that's what my practice is, right? That's what I try to do whenever I go shooting, because I want to try to make sure that I'm focusing and training. And I mean, it's like you still want to go out and have fun. We shot today and we had fun.
Oh yeah.
It was a blast, but we were both focused on training and saying, okay, well, this is the drill, this is the skill we're trying to test. And we're going to give 110% of our effort to make that task happen.
So obviously, guys, I'm in Washington right now with Caylen, and first time. This is probably going to be our first video that we upload. Yeah. So all of our podcasts that we've done have just been over Zoom and stuff like that. But I'm here for a few weeks. It's always with her mom, and just taking advantage of the free time that I have, and checking out some projects you got going on, but really looking forward to just training with you, getting ready for hunting season. We're going to be chasing down some bears in a couple weeks.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited to get back in the mountains, man. And I'm excited to witness your experience in that, especially given, your background being, we're both snipers. We understand what it means to have a ruck on our back and look at a giant hill and say, all right, well, let's kick this into low gear and get it done.
Yeah, the quickest way to get up there is just to start walking.
Is to take one step at a time.
Yeah.
No, I'm really excited to be there when you experience that, because we're going to go to a pretty epic place. I'm excited to show you, and just to kind of see what the parallels are. I'm really excited to also see where the parallels you find between being a military sniper, planning operations, planning missions, and then executing them, and seeing how that translates over into a mountain hunt.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of parallels to that. So, we're really hot right now, so it's gonna be an interesting time. I mean, we tipped 101, and what Luke say? He said it was in the mountain at 6,400 feet. It was 68 degrees by 9:30 in the morning.
He told me to come out there with basketball shorts. And I was like, man, I don't know if you're serious or because I brought some basketball shorts.
He's serious. I mean, when it's this time of year, you just want to be super light and you want to, you got to take care of your feet, right? So your feet have to be, there's no more of the hardcore old school military boots, right? You take care of your feet out here and you're trying not to shred them.
Yep.
So I'm excited because for me, my favorite course to teach because of the student experience as a whole is the backcountry hunter package. So, because you get to witness everybody's progress through those 5 days of not only the shooting, but then the physical aspect, the mental aspect, the emotional aspect. Some, like last year, we had one dude that he told me on the afternoon of the morning of day 3, we were hiking out. Yeah. He's like, what would you say if I told you that I've never even camped before I came here? I was like, what, dude? You've never even camped before? He's like, no. Oh man, you just threw a ruck on your back and said, let's do this. That's pretty cool. Yeah. So, and he was not a young guy either. Yeah. And he did really well, and he met some serious challenges, and it's cool to just watch people go through that.
Man, and it's something to say about just growing up in Alaska, and the older that I get, looking back in my childhood, I just have such an appreciation for the outdoors, you know what I mean? And even though relate to growing up in the city, because I grew up in Anchorage, grew up in Las Vegas, and spent most of my time in Orange County. So I relate what it is to be, kind of spoiled by the city life. But at the same time, now that I'm a little older, I kind of just want to be away from all of the busyness, you know what I mean? And the feeling, and everyone that's listening to this that have explored, the countryside, and I'm excited to not only explore the countryside and that feeling, but now taking my passion of being a rifleman as well, right? And actually, because ever since, when I came over to the civilian side, worked for Gunworks, I completely immersed myself into the hunting world. And I'm just super excited to, use my experience and learn more about the hunting craft from you and Luke and stuff like that. So looking.
There's nothing. I've hunted a couple of places in the world and all over the country, and for me, there's nothing more gratifying than a backcountry mountain harvest. It's really, it's very, very powerful experience.
Because you work for it.
You're working for every freaking ounce. And it's cool. It's a really cool experience. And so some of the places we're going to go is just they're just mind blowing visually and just beautiful country. Yeah. So, Bear opens here in Washington August 1st. We got a student, for Modern Day Sniper. We got a mentorship student that wraps up on the first, and I think we're going to try to bail out on was that Sunday afternoon. Yeah. We'll try to get there in the evening when the sun's down and hike in the first couple hours of dark, so it's cooler. Yeah. And get it done, man. Let's shoot you a bear.
I'm looking forward to getting my ass. It's been a while since I put a ruck on my back, and I know it's all mental, but at the same time, it's like I guess you can never be prepared for having a weight on your back. There's people out there, right? There's we talked about physical specimens. Cody Carroll being one.
Just crushing shit all the time.
I mean, I knew of guys that I served with that I always aspired for that kind of physical, essentially fitness. But I know for me, no matter what, I'm not obviously not gonna quit. That's kind of, and it's not like anything that we'll do that I haven't experienced before in terms of, the mental fortitude and whatnot. No, but I'm looking forward to the complete experience, and I'm sure just like anything else, it's gonna suck, but I'm gonna look back and be like, man, I'm super happy that I did that.
Yeah, you will. And I'm really stoked for you to hunt with Luke. Just an absolute wealth of knowledge. I mean, he's my mountain hunting mentor here in the States, and or in Washington State, and the dude's park critter.
Yeah.
You just got it figured out. So very, very grateful to be able to learn from him. And so I'm in the process of building a new hunting rifle.
Yeah. So talk about some of your projects.
So some of the projects, well, first and foremost, I just got a couple of actions from American Rifle Company.
Okay.
I'm going to pick those up today. I got the newest generation of the Mousing Field. I got another nucleus, and an Archimedes. And so previously, I've got one of the very first Mousing Field actions.
Yeah, I remember that.
It's in that 6 Creedmoor right there.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with that action. Like, it's just silky smooth, and I love the fact that it's got a mechanical ejector. I love the fact that it's got positive feed and extraction, and it's just a really, really well designed action.
Yeah.
And so, the first one that I have is the large Savage barrel shank size. And so I've been using that as like a 7-SAUM competition rifle and a 6.5 PRC competition rifle. So the new Mousing Field, I got that with the open top and the different rail, so I could save just a little bit of weight for the hunting rig.
Yep.
And there's some really cool new, like the old Mousing Field does not look like the new Mousing Field, right? The features are still there, but the way that that Ted's re-engineered things. So as soon as I get that action back from having that gun built, we will go over that in detail. We're probably going to blog about it. So we'll go over that in detail, talk about the differences. And that rifle is going to end up being a 7-SAUM. It's going to be a 22-inch proof carbon fiber barrel set into a Manor stock. And I'm going to throw a Leupold 3.6 to 18 on there, Mark V. And I'm probably, that rifle will weigh in right around that 9.5, 10 pounds.
Yeah.
So, and I'm going to shoot it suppressed because it's just the way to go.
Yeah.
It really is. So, and then the other two actions, the Archimedes is going to be my competition rig. And I got a couple of 6 Creed barrels getting spun up for it right now. Proof, from what I understand, Proof's going to be, we're talking to Proof about doing pre-fits for the ARC actions, because all 3 of those actions hold the same tolerances. They hold the same tenon dimensions. Yeah. So that way you can, you probably won't be able to share barrel from action to action. Yeah. Just because of the tolerance in there.
Yep.
The barrel would go, but the brass might not.
Okay.
Right? Just the fire brass might not fit. But either way, love those. The Archimedes, I'm super excited about.
Let's check it out.
Yeah. So the Archimedes is the latest in the line, and the cool thing about this is it has a mechanical primary and secondary extraction using a tilted bolt handle. If you guys can see this. So
the bolt handle moves once you get to a certain.
Right. So that's your extraction, right? When you cam that cams the bolt out and unlocks, right? Yep. So it unlocks, and then that's your primary extraction right there. So I'm excited to try this out. I've shot a couple hundred rounds out of one of Ted's test rifles, and I just like. It took a little getting used to, because when the bolt comes back, it continues to move, and it's just surprising the first time you run the bolt. But I get used to it really fast, and I enjoy it. The other cool thing about this is that the bolt head with the Archimedes and the nucleus are interchangeable.
Okay, cool.
Right? So I've got 4 bolt heads over there for the nucleus that I can make these things whatever I want. Right? If I want to take a trainer barrel and put a trainer barrel on here, we can do that with the 5.56. Yep. So it's pretty cool. And when you have the tools at home to do that stuff, it's super fast. Yeah. It's really easy. So that's the Archimedes. You played with that one.
Yeah. No, I you have, I've watched you shoot for the past few years there. You still have the positive grip on your bolt throw, right? Mm-hmm. Where I moved over to that sweep, so I'm curious to see when this is mounted up how that sweep would work, if it would work, or if I would have to roll to a positive grip. So
perhaps,
but solid. I mean, it fit, like when you just look at these actions, they're different.
Yeah, they're different.
And I've been watching you run the Mousing Field since I think first time I ever saw you kind of shoot pictures of it when Joseph was taking pictures of you during Sniper
Yeah,
Side.
that's
that
right.
Was and that was even right before I even started competing.
Right.
Actually, that's what kind of inspired me to lead toward the KRG route. Ended up getting a KRG a year or two later after running Manners. I saw Manners. I still love those stocks, but something about that KRG that just feels like home.
Feels like coming home.
Yeah.
I agree. I definitely agree. And this is the nucleus, and even the nucleus has changed from the iteration that I have.
Yeah.
So the nucleus that I have has the same bolt release right there.
Okay.
So that's on the top, but Ted moved that this time and he put it on the side here.
Okay.
With a little ball bearing. And
Yep.
I mean, the machine work on these things is just beautiful. I think it's just like very crisp, very clean lines. You just not pull that.
Yeah.
Right. And the bolt comes right out.
Okay. So you need a tool.
Nope.
No.
Just hand. You can rotate that by hand.
Oh, this one right here.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Rotate it.
I'll pull the bolt all the way to the rear.
Okay.
Against the stop. Now I rotate it. It's one way or the other. Here. So.
Maybe I'm just retarded.
No,
that could be a thing.
No, it just takes some getting used to. So you rotate it 90 degrees towards you.
Oh, okay.
The bolt will come out.
Towards you. Okay,
Yeah.
I was doing it.
Sorry, that's my bad, man. And then that little recess right there is that cut for that roll.
Oh, nice. And I like how it says, well, obviously an indication of it's a 473 bolt face.
Yeah, he puts that on all his stuff, which
Nice.
is pretty nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these things I'm really excited about messing with them. I've always liked Ted stuff.
Yeah.
They're really cool.
Yeah.
So, and the nucleus has the only thing that the nucleus some people might like have heartburn or heartache with is the fact that the nucleus has it's got a centered recoil look.
Okay.
Right. So that's really the only
Yeah.
major difference. Not a big deal. But yeah, I'm really excited. This one's going to be, this one, I believe, I'm going to turn this into a 6.5 PRC.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll shoot that. So.
Well, while you have those super nice actions, my project is actually, I've been wanting to do this for the longest time. But my project is this bad layer right here. Just bought it today at the gun store. Old Tika CTR. Which stands for Compact Tactical Rifle. This is the 20-inch model, 6.5 Creedmoor. And I threw one of your extra scopes laying around. It's an SHV, budget type. But the primary goal for this is a budget build. I've got an X-ray coming for it. But tomorrow I'm going to sight it in just to get, pretty accurate results to see, how it is when you buy it off the shelf. So I'm excited for that project for everyone.
People ask us that all the time. Like, what can I do for a budget build? Because let's face it, there's not many people talking about that out there, right? There's very few.
Yeah.
And so,
well, as our audience has grown, right, from the competition side and from the military side, or even our brothers who, when you're a corporal in the Marine Corps, you're not getting paid that much.
Exactly.
Right? You can't afford.
You might want to go shoot.
Exactly.
Yeah, I want to go shoot. Like that is
best bang for your buck.
There's nothing wrong with that setup right there whatsoever.
And so for everyone that's going to ask, okay, well, Phil, why the Tika? The Tika's got a lot of great upgrade options, right? Obviously with the KRG and Manners started making stocks for the KRG. So, let's say when you're ready to upgrade from your stock that you get, right? You've got options out there. But the biggest thing I would say is that how smooth this comes out of the box, where there's no really break-in period for like even a Remington 700. You get a brand new Remington 700, it just feels chunky. Super chunky. Any Tika that I've jumped on from a guy's at a match or whatever at the range, as soon as I cycle their bolt, I'm like, man, that's a Tika action. And like, yeah, I've got like 20 rounds to it. It's like, holy crap. So that's super nice. But yeah, so this is what I'm going to actually take when we go bear hunting.
Right on, man.
So I'm going to stuff some 140 ELDMs. I've had a lot of great luck with that bullet, and I think it's very, very affordable, and it's available to the rest of the public. So it's like
6.5 Creedmoor ammo, super easy to come by.
I'm going to try to stick along the lines of what is going to be affordable and available to the average Joe.
Right.
So that's kind of, I'm excited for you guys to follow along with this journey about how I would essentially kit this out. But I think even with what's, I'd have to Google the SHV.
I want to see the SHVs in that 800-900 range.
Okay. Yeah. So as you're looking at this is right under, with the rings, right under $2,000. Yeah. Right.
I could be off a little bit on the scope price, but I mean that right there is, I suppose if you were to come, that is a great hunting rifle configuration.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Like you really don't need to do much else to that when you're just getting started.
Yep.
Especially if you don't know what it is that you like or you don't like.
Yeah.
So like you said though, like all of those, the upgrades, the stock upgrade, that is, you could start shooting matches with that if you had a stock upgrade.
Yep. And that's the point. It's a point for people to want to get in a long range. They just want to shoot recreational. I'm going to dial this into 1,000 right at your range. And, I'm going to show people that you can dial it up to 1,000 out of the box. So I'm excited for that little series in a sense. But ultimately get it ready, to throw on my back and hopefully smack a bear with it with opportunity.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was gonna do the 24-inch. I'm actually glad I went with the 20-inch because I think we talked about we're gonna put a can on it once we get later. But when I do all the testing and stuff like that for it, I'll do a few with just the without a muzzle brake, and then I'll eventually probably put a muzzle brake on it for if I use it in a competition platform. But again, you'll probably see me shoot it at first as is with this optic on it. So looking forward to that.
Hell yeah. Yep. So what else you been up to, man?
Dude, so my biggest thing that I've been up to, as you've seen today, is getting into this whole videography, filmography, photography thing. I've completely absorbed into it. It's something that I've always kind of had as a not a passion, I would say, something I've always been intrigued in doing. When I was in high school, I actually had a camera, and people that, I don't know if anyone from high school is listening to this podcast, but those that they probably know that, Phil used to have a video camera. I used to make little movies.
Nice.
And it's like with the cassettes where you had to download it to the TV or to the computer, right? Okay. Play it back, right? And then save it and then burn it on a disc. So I did that. And no, I've always been intrigued in it. And then, like I told you, I want to step up, my content game, our content game. And, that's kind of what's kind of absorbed a lot of my other free time that I have.
The cool thing about that is having somebody here, like when we film the online stuff with Brian.
Yeah.
Just a wealth of knowledge, because learning, trying to figure out what your camera really can do.
Yeah.
You need somebody that does it all the time to teach you how to do it. And it was it's interesting, we were talking about learning, right? And like how I like kind of stepping outside a normal comfort zone of like a skill that I've used in the past to learn something new and see how well I can absorb it. Because the photography thing, like you said, I did photography in high school as well, shooting on 35 millimeter film, right? Like, and we developed,
that's like OG right there,
right? It's just straight up old school stuff.
Yeah.
And like we're pulling the negatives out of the film canister in a dark bag and stuff. It was a really interesting learning experience, but like learning about shutter speeds and stops and ISOs and stuff, and then how that translates into video with like then color correcting and also post production stuff. It's a lot, isn't it? It's like it's a lot to learn, and then be able to then go, okay, well, let's make something out of this. It's a challenge, and it's a cool challenge.
Yeah, because a lot of what I've been doing, and this just goes for everyone that is paying attention, like I've been learning a lot of stuff just on YouTube. The amount of information that's out there, all you have to do is YouTube it, and it's out there. And one thing that I see in our community for precision rifle there's not too many good how-to. So keep in mind that is a lot of what we're, our project's going to be on is how to blah, blah, blah. Because there's a lot of free content out there that you can absorb and consume, but other than just consuming it, you have to go out and apply it.
Exactly.
Right. And that's one thing that I've like noticed, like I spent a lot of my first couple months doing this. I was just consuming too much, but nothing was sticking because I wasn't actually applying.
Yeah, you got to go do it.
Exactly.
Yep.
So that now, like, even with these small little videos that I've been doing, it's like, okay, I capture it, and now what I need to work on is my editing process. Well, even if with me capturing what I can, I can capture great angles, but if I can't chop it all together, right? Then so that's what I've been kind of focusing on. Is not really the capturing, but now the post kind of production. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that little teaser video, which
turned out good, man.
Yeah, I mean, I probably got that done. You were gone for what, an hour and a half? Mm-hmm. Yeah, got that done in an hour and a half. I had like 85 gigs worth of content today.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what we did today. Oh, before that, let's talk about your law enforcement class in Billings.
Billings, yeah. That was something that Billings have been trying to put together for a while.
Yeah.
It's no secret that budgets are tight for law enforcement organizations, and really glad to have it come together. Kind of the COVID stuff is kicking everybody's ass right now with regard to travel and stuff. So we had 7 students there, and it was an advanced law enforcement sniper course. It's 3 days long.
Yep.
And a lot of people look at the advanced course and say, well, what's advanced about this course?
Yeah.
And really, like, after shooting the basic qual this morning, or a part of it, you can probably identify that we share the same thoughts on this.
Yeah.
Like, an advanced skill is nothing more than the basics.
Brilliance in the basics.
Done to either a tighter accuracy standard or a tighter time standard.
That's it.
It's exactly what it is.
Yep. There's no like Gucci's secret trips or tips or anything like that. Like, and I say that in when I teach class, like, when I talk about shooting off your belly, like, there's no such thing as really an advanced like technique that you're gonna learn. I'm just sharing with you all of the fundamental foundation that I taught you on day one off of your belly.
And I also think that, like, a lot of times with advanced level curriculum, you are, as a coach, it's almost like you have now more responsibility, because as a coach, to take it to the next level, you really have to be super on top of the students and like, not necessarily nitpicking the mistakes, but pointing out and saying, hey man, if you really want to take it to the next level, you have to focus on one thing at a time.
Yep.
And the other part of that too is being able to get to a position of trying to stack more information, process more information. Yep. So as long as we have this baseline established, I can give you another chunk of information on top of that.
Yep.
And once we can do this and this, okay, well, let's add another chunk on top of that. Yep. And eventually it's going to fall off.
Yep.
And when it does fall off, we know, okay, well, that's where we need to stay at for a while.
Yeah.
And that's really what we did with those guys. Like, the majority of that class was working on stress shooting, right? Holding students to an accuracy standard, but pushing them with both physical activity and tighter time limits.
Yep.
So, and working on gear deployment,
Yep.
right? That's a big thing, because everything looks good in terms of gear and equipment management until you actually have to use it.
Yeah.
And then you realize really fast, this is not going to work. This took forever to get out of my bag, and I needed this, or things like that. And you're not going to learn that unless you actually do it. And so that's what we really drill into their heads too with the advanced course, is like, let's look at your gear. Let's make sure it's set up properly.
Let's streamline the process.
Exactly.
Right.
And man, before long, those rucksacks are getting stripped with more and more crap that's getting put on the table. And like, I don't need that stuff.
Yeah.
So there's a fine balance. Like, that as being an operational sniper, right? We need to, but as far as the shooting goes, you don't need much.
Yeah.
You need a rifle, you need some ammo,
Yep.
you need something to support the rifle.
Yeah.
You need maybe like a sling on the gun, a tripod, maybe a toolkit, right? In your gear.
Yep.
But other than that, and a dope card.
Yep.
that should be it, man.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to be taking the friggin' kitchen sink with you.
Yeah.
So, and that's what we work on. And then also a lot of tripod stuff, because we still got a gap happening in that community when it comes to tripods. So I don't want to, it's not hit or miss, but it's like there are some departments that we go teach, and some guys are like, I've never shot off a tripod. Man,
I'm about to just, going back to my budget setup, and not offense to Really Right Stuff, for those that know, I'm an ambassador for them, but obviously not everyone can afford a Really Right Stuff tripod, but you can easily go to Walmart, buy a tripod, and learn how to shoot off just like anything else. You don't need something fancy.
Yeah. And there's, and same thing with Really Right Stuff. I'm also an ambassador for Really Right Stuff. I love their gear, and it is equipment that I'm not gonna lie. So when we would show students like budget tripods, right, and then a progression of quality in the tripod until you got to you get to the Really Right Stuff, and you throw that thing on an Anvil 30, and that rifle just sits there.
Yep.
And then you go, the proof is in the experience, right? Yeah. So, and there's not to knock anybody, that's not what this is all about, but it's to the point of saying, okay, well, this is eventually going to make your life easier.
Yeah.
Right. And it might take you some time to get to that point, but these are also really good options. And when it comes to tripod shooting, the gear, it's my opinion anyways, that the gear drives the technique that you use.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Great point. The gear drives the technique that you use. So one thing that I wanted to point out in your course that I saw last week when I saw you posting some videos of it, that I didn't know that you were doing in the class, because obviously I haven't actually sat and observed you for that class, but your hasty and sustained techniques.
Sure.
Right. Because you and I always dog on our podcast vocally, not through a meme page, tripod rear support in competition. And going back to what we stand for as modern day sniper, of utilizing techniques born from competition, right? And showing that to the law enforcement officers. I thought that was super cool.
You have to, right? I mean, like, okay, so, and this is all like personal preference too. I don't want to sit here and like try to project values on somebody or pass judgment. That's not what we're trying to do. For me personally though, I want to be able to consistently hit the same target size and time limit with whatever acceptable sight picture I need without the use of a tripod rear support.
Yeah.
Because when the time and opportunity does come to use that, it becomes a luxury, right? And that's where we built that into that sustainable position, because a hasty position is, in essence, it's a position that you could say 1 to 2 minutes, right? 1 to 2 minutes.
Yep.
We got to make something work. Like, as we build the qualification course off statistics.
Yep.
Like, that's important to me, because I can't just pull something out of my butt and just be like, we're just going to do this because I think it's applicable. There's a lot of that stuff happening out there. And we want to build it off statistics and say, okay, well, what are the percentages? And the American Sniper Association does a really good job at putting that information together. And if you guys are snipers and you're listening to this, I would highly recommend that you go to American Snipers Association, and you can get the police sniper utilization report. And also too, even if you're not like a law enforcement sniper and you're a military sniper, dude, that's part of broadening your base.
Yep.
Grab that information, learn it, apply it, because there are applications that cross over on both sides of the house. And so we look at those percentages, and we talk to people that have made sniper engagements as law enforcement officers and talk to them about their experiences. So there's one, as an example, guy had to deploy from his vehicle, and after running about 200 yards, within 57 seconds of him getting into position, he fired a critical shot, right, on a suspect. The deadly force was determined to be utilized. So that is important. That's where that hasty position stuff comes from, by saying, all right, man, you got to get here and you have to be able to deliver 2 well-aimed shots. And we say 2 because I can pull off one shot,
Yeah.
right? But what happens if that shot wasn't effective on target, or we have to be prepared to take a follow-up shot.
Yep.
So that's why we have to engage two.
Two is one is none.
There you go.
Say that all the time.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely,
Yep.
man. That's a big deal. And then, the sustained position is it's 2 minutes.
Yep.
They have 2 minutes time. They got to run 50 meters. When they get with all of their kit, they get there to that start point. Time starts. The last man gets there. Time starts. Yeah. And they got 60 seconds to build a position.
Yeah.
Deliver 2 well-aimed shots at a 3-inch target at 100 yards.
Yep. So if you look at kind of the evolution of sniping and when you look back to what snipers do on Hollywood, right? They shoot off of sustained or deliberate positions,
Mm-hmm.
right? They set up in a hide site, they build their position, they're there for X amount of, to 48 hours, 96 hours or whatever, and they take that one shot, they crawl out of it. That's the typical Hathcock story. I said his name right this time. The typical Hathcock or Chuck Mahaney story, right? But as we progressed in the evolution of warfare, and when you served in Fallujah, and all of our brothers that served in Iraq and Afghanistan, Sean Hughes is going to hate this term, but they were kind of employed as assault snipers.
Sorry, Sean, we love you, buddy.
You were the maneuver element, right?
Yep.
So at that point, you were building hasty positions
Every time,
right, and providing precision fires on selected targets, right? Yep. So kind of. And that's where the competition scene really drove home of learning how to build hasty positions. Yep. That's a great way to put it.
One of the two biggest things I learned from that combat experience was, it was the most physically demanding thing I've ever done in my life.
Yep.
And B, that you need to have everything on your body.
Yeah.
Right, that you need to fight with, or that you need to operate that weapon system, whether that be, laser rangefinder, set of binos, obviously ammunition, dope, right?
Yep.
You have to be able to grab that stuff, and that has to be on your body, man. You can't be going back into a rucksack over and over again. The other thing that I noticed that was really important too was the way that we carried sidearms really sucked, and the new way, I suppose, of carrying a sidearm, either in a Hill People gear pouch.
Yep.
Man, that's money.
Yeah.
That's really money. Just because it's comfortable, the pistol's not flopping around. Chances.
Don't even get me started.
It's cringeworthy to watch, because you're like, dude, you clearly don't know.
That Black Hawk holster, no bueno.
No bueno.
Dude, because you'd have your kit on, you've had side sappies, and then that thing would either stick right up in your side, or it would bow out, right?
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass. And so I think, the pistol carriage is a big deal. And then one of the vinyl harnesses that I really like to use, the FHF gear, they have a holster that's underneath that. And it's just different ways of doing things, right? You just look at it and say, all right, well, how do I get all this bullshit that I need to operate on my body? So that way, when I'm behind, I'm attached to that rifle, and the infantry is depending on me to protect them in their advance, I'm not dicking around doing something else.
Yeah.
Right. It's really important, because it happens fast in that urban sniper role, especially if you're supporting the infantry. Yeah. Right. The infantry's moving, and they could say, okay, well, I want to get this far down the street, but they might only be able to get this far down the street.
Yeah.
And then you have to displace and reestablish another position, and it's just like a giant game of leapfrog.
Yeah.
So. Very valuable learning experience, and granted, that was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Right, it's been a long time, but the same principles still apply.
Yeah.
And so that's why we do some of the things that we do in the law enforcement course.
So I want to roll into what we did today, which was I shot the law enforcement qual,
Mm-hmm.
and we had talked about this on the way here, and that I wanted to shoot it without any kind of training, not training up for it or anything. I just wanted to shoot it cold turkey. Mm-hmm. This is also going to come with another vlog that we shot today. So not only was I shooting it, but I was trying to film it as well, to just get that experience and be honest about how I felt I did on the qual. Mm-hmm. So far, initial thoughts, and we didn't get to finish it today. We had some stuff going on. I think it obviously ran a little longer than we wanted to, just because I was trying to film it as well. But the things that I was able to take away was I have been essentially kind of very far removed from the practical tactical space of employing a rifle. And what I mean by that is a lot of times I forgot about the safety. I mean, that is 99% of the time all we use in the Corps, right, is the safety. Once that rifle goes, once you are ready on target, or not even when you're on target, when that gun is planted, that bolt goes home and the safety comes on. Right? Regardless of me being acquired on target. And this brings up a point of a comment we got on the Modern Day Sniper Instagram when you posted a video like, hey, what's your thoughts on that guy not being on target before he closed his bolt? With his bolt already down. It's like, dude, that's a competitionism, And so a couple of hiccups that I had today in some of the stress shoots, well, they were all stress shoots, right? But some of the hiccups that I had was I'd get ready to fire, I'd be pulling that trigger back to the rear and then nothing would happen. And immediately I look down.
Start crushing it.
Exactly. What's cool is I'll show you that I have no freaking trigger jerking or any of that flinch or whatever with it. But I knew because this is a light trigger and I've got about a pound on it. It still hasn't gone off.
Right.
And I knew that my safety was on, or because part of the qual, it's like, hey, I'd ask you what are the typical starting positions? It's safety on the round inside, or it would be a bolt over the round,
cruiser ready.
Yeah, cruiser ready with the safety on. So I'd remember a racket, right? I didn't have any dry fires, but
there's that safety.
That safety there.
Yep.
So that cost me just time, right?
Yeah.
I think, I would have been able to be way under the par time, but so I think we got through three-quarters of it.
Yeah,
I think I got two more courses of fire to do.
We got tripod hasty, tripod sustained, and then urban UKD.
Yeah. No, I thought it was good so far, man. It's like you said, it's coming understanding curriculum development. I know how tough it is to build a standard that doesn't exist.
It's so hard.
Right? And, this goes back to when I was teaching at cyber school already now 2 years ago, right? I'd hate to say it, but our curriculum hasn't truly evolved. It's like, we're shooting off tripods, which is good, but, me personally, I don't think, even from a standard baseline, we Marine snipers should be shooting unknown distance for 10 quals in a row, right? Maybe after the third or fourth qual of unknown distance of the same thing,
right?
We got the point, right? Let's move on to the next thing. Or 3 to 4 weeks of paper at 1,000.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's still kind of rolling because that's the same kind of qual, I would say, curriculum that you graduate qual in.
So that's shit, man. We did 4 weeks on the KD range, right? 4 weeks on the KD range, punching paper and
collecting
dope, and then once you have your 3 day opportunity to qualify, 36 points being a perfect score, and you look at that now and you're like, man, that is not a difficult qualification to train somebody to do. Right?
I said it in the podcast before. It's like there's a 16-year-old right now that will crush that course of fire. Yep. With a 308.
Exactly. Because his knowledge base, not only is his knowledge base there, but his experience level is there. Yep. And it's like, what is it? It's an Iron Maiden. It's a 20 by 40.
20 by 40.
Echo.
All the way out. Yep.
And it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Missing shots on that is insane.
I think, what it does, what that repetitiveness does, it builds good habits and good fundamentals, right? Because at the end of the day, we could go shoot a team match tomorrow, and I think we do fairly. Bo and I placed second place last year at the Sniper Side Cup without ever shooting together, but we, because of our foundation, we were able to essentially have that shooter-observer communication and just know each other's strengths and weaknesses immediately off the bat.
You're gonna know it the first. You're gonna know it the first stage, right?
So
you're gonna be like, okay, well, let's make sure that you do that and I do this or whatever, then the next one.
So I think, in that retrospect, I think, but in terms of where we've progressed with the technology, taking advantage of the technology, such as a firing, a ballistic solver, right? I mean, removes all of that having to dope out to 1,000 yards. It's like get a chrono, shoot paper to get the, understand paper doesn't lie, right? But, we could also focus on other pertinent training,
dude.
In marksmanship.
Think about knowing what we know now about how about training shooters. Think about what you could do if you had even the daily allocation of ammunition, right? Even the daily allocation of ammunition. If I could look at that and say, all right, I got 120 rounds a day to train these dudes, and I got 8 weeks of range time. There is no reason that you should not be producing absolute ninja shooters after 8 weeks. Yeah. Like, you should be able to hit literally anything you aim at. Yeah. And be confident.
We talked about this also on the ride here, is when you have a shooter that's senior hog, and I'm glad we're talking about this because I think a lot of times in our podcast we forget to talk about our snipers. And I've heard it on a couple of snipers that Solo. If you're listening to this is definitely for you.
Matt Solo.
Yeah, Matt Solo.
Cool.
He's like, maybe I don't relate too much to the competition side, but I kind of understand it. So this one's for you. So we talked about as a military sniper when you're training your platoon, right? Because what sucks about being in, at least in the Marine Corps side of the house, I'm not sure about the Army, which we're going to have a couple Army snipers, both Chris Roberts and Rance come on here in a couple weeks. On the Marine Corps side of the house, I mean, sometimes depending on how well your battalion treated you, or how well your platoon sergeant was, I mean, before my last deployment, like, we'd hit the range once every 4 months.
It's insane.
And like, we had, when you look at a 24-man platoon, right, the platoon sergeant, chief scout, trying to cut that ammo allotment so that every shooter trains. So that ends up being, after a 3-day shoot, 20 to 30 rounds per shooter. That's insane. After 3 days. So now you you look at that, scale it back, that's 8 rounds a day per shooter.
That's insane.
And going back, and obviously, people that are listening that, are actually taking care of the platoons are like, oh, that's because there's proper, ammo forecasting and improper requesting. But there's still platoons out there that have improper techniques and ways of ordering ammo. Anyways, for those that do have the affordability to have a lot of ammo for their training, the hogs or senior hogs or junior hogs with not much experience, what are they basing their training around?
Right.
Sniper school qualification.
Yep, exactly.
Right.
Training for the qual.
Right. But if they were able to expose themselves to different training, right, such as competition venues and stuff like that, to just get their mind working and being able to take away what they learned from competition or some stages or whatever, like, oh, this is real world. I can use this to now move over and train my guys.
Yeah.
Right.
One of the things that I used to do with the guys, if they, a really good shooting class, you might have a couple of strap hangers that didn't quite make it on day one. You're going to need like maybe half of day 2 to get them qualified. Yeah. And we would take I took the British Royal Marine qualification course, and we would shoot that on the last day of the qual. And that involved, I mean, I'd have to dig it all out, but it involved tighter accuracy standards for the closer ranges, right? Headshots only. And not only they didn't have full echoes, they had dog targets, right, for the rest of the shoots. Nice. And then they also incorporated tripod practice in there. Back in the day, that, like, we used wooden dowel tripods, and that was part of the qual. You take your sandsock, throw your sandsock on there, throw your rifle on there, and that was your tripod. Yeah. And they incorporated that into their qualification course. And our Marines, going from that 36 round 3 to 1,000 just laying on their bellies. You put them in that, and it kicked their ass.
Yeah.
It kicked my ass at the time because that was my first introduction to, oh, okay, there's another world out there that I don't know about yet.
Yeah.
And we need to be poking into that and figuring out, like, yes, that's what we need.
Yeah.
And it was always a benefit, because a lot of students would say, well, what's it really like to shoot off of a tripod in a hide site?
Yeah.
What is that really like? Talking about things like deflection.
Yep.
How many windows have you burned through that you said there's not a chance in hell I'm going to get a bullet through that?
Yeah.
Knowing now what we know now, like, geez, even a blade of grass can affect a long range trajectory.
Yep.
And so this bullshit that we used to be taught, like anything,
bigger than a pinky. Yeah.
You're just like, you are out of your fucking mind.
If you shot through that, good luck finding the bullet.
Yeah, it's going to go off into Narnia.
Yeah.
So stuff like that, where you want to take things to a more practical level. And so that's part also what we teach at the law enforcement course. Because one of the things that we do right off the bat is we get intros done, and I tell them, I'll write it up on the board. I want to know what you think your mission is. Number one, in your own words. We just talk about a mission statement, 5 W's, right? Try to make one sentence, 5 W's. What is your mission? And then I also want you to define what you believe a law enforcement sniper is in your own words.
Yep.
And on the third question is, I want you to tell me what you believe it means to be a volunteer.
Yeah.
And then we all talk about it as a class. It's a little powwow session, and everybody gets up and says, these are my 3 things.
Yep.
And it's an eye-opener for a lot of people.
That hits home. When you told me about that, I was like, man, that's awesome. That really hits home. That like, it really sets the tone of the class.
It does.
Because it shows that, I mean, you give a shit, right? That you're not just there blowing smoke up their ass. Like, you actually care that they understand what their purpose of them being a law enforcement sniper is and why you're there.
Mm-hmm. It's important because just like we talk about, the mindfulness, we talk about the presence of mind, and that really helps keep their focus. Like, hey, this is the real deal. Like, sometimes you just need a reminder and say, like, look, man, no one's coming to help you.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. The first rule of the fucking kill house is no one's coming to save you.
Yep.
So you got to do it on your own.
Yeah.
And a lot of people need to be reminded of that.
Yeah. Let's talk about we talked about a lot of stuff on the way home. We had a 14-hour drive, two day drive.
You're right.
In 2 days.
Before we move past that, I did want to answer one question. A lot of guys had comments or questions on our count.
Oh, the TIA 2.
Yeah, the TIA 2. So we all know that there's a bazillion different ways to skin the cat, right? That problem.
There's a lot of SOPs.
There's a lot of SOPs.
Every unit
has a different SOP, and I tell them right off the bat, I'm not here to change your world, but this is what we used, and it's pretty standard from the time 5 hits, right? Number 5. So we would basically say, hey, the assault force commander would come across the net and say, hey, all teams, this breach has been set. I now have control over the operation. And he says, stand by. And for our SOPs at the command stand by, safeties would go off, and we're prepared to execute a sniper-initiated assault or coordinated sniper fire, which would then be a sniper-initiated assault. Yeah. We can also do the same thing, though, having multiple guns on one target. That's another tactic that's used. But when the count starts, 5, 4, 3, T, on the T and 2, all the snipers shoot in unison. And then on 1, the breach goes, and then execute, right? We're going in, the DA guys are going in the house, doing what they got to do, and snipers are searching for targets of opportunity to protect the direct action force. And so that's really what the count is. And it's some of the verbiage up front might be a little bit different, but at the end of the day, the T and 2 is when the guns are supposed to go bang.
Yeah. So to make my little teaser video a little bit more dramatic.
Yeah, that's probably what caused it.
I for that video I drug it out until where Caylen was shooting after.
I think that's
after 1. So let's not And for those bad guys that are watching, they don't want to know, or at TTPs or SOPs, anyways. Which actually brings me into the question I asked you on the way: what law enforcement officers think about a military sniper teaching law enforcement? Because you and I don't have backgrounds in law enforcement, right? And my hat's off to the law enforcement community, especially in this time. But I'm always thinking about you guys. We appreciate everything you guys do for the community. I've got a lot of close friends that are in the law enforcement that were former snipers, and my hat's off to you guys. And I hope that you guys come home safe every night to your families.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's they have a thankless job.
Yeah,
it really is. And then you add on that volunteer status of, okay, now I'm on a SWAT team, right? Special weapons and tactics. I'm expected to do more with less. We always have budgetary constraints, right? And same thing with snipers. It's no different, right?
Yep.
This is just my personal opinion now. When it comes to military snipers training law enforcement snipers, I think that in order for you to be qualified, if you will, to train a law enforcement sniper, you need to have a solid background in urban sniping, close range stuff, because that's where those guys live.
Okay.
Right? We have to understand their mission.
Yep.
And if you don't understand the mission, if you've never done that before, not necessarily, it doesn't have to be in real time or real life, so to speak, but you have to be exposed to that mission. Like being fortunate, the Marine Corps, not all units get to do the same level of training or the same types of training packages.
Or the same mission when they're in country.
Exactly.
Yep.
Totally. And so, I was really fortunate to be a part of 1st Marine Regiment, which is a MUSOC regiment, right? So we, as snipers, got a chance to do urban reconnaissance and surveillance course. That's 8 weeks of learning urban reconnaissance and surveillance.
Yeah.
I mean, hides, how to communicate, how to collect and report information, what to be aware of, all those things go into that. And then you take that into the urban sniper course, where now you're learning about cold shots, you're learning about how to surgically place bullets into targets, because granted, even though we knew we'd never probably get those missions of in extremis hostage rescue, non-combatant evacuation operations for like embassies, maritime interdiction operations, but we still trained for it. So we did the hostage rescue stuff. We did the close range sea of people in front of an embassy trying to pick out the guy that looks like a shithead that needs to get shot.
Yeah.
So I think if you have that background and you've been exposed to it, that qualifies you to do that, because now you're part of that world. Now, the one thing that delineates us is on the large scale is the use of force, right? So when I come and train law enforcement guys, the first thing I tell them is, I'm not a cop, number one. I'm not going to teach you anything about use of force. Yeah. And my opinion is that you guys are utilizing your weapons. You have a pistol, or you have a rifle or a shotgun in your car. You're making the determination to utilize that weapon system every single day, sometimes multiple times a day, right? So you don't need any use of force training from me, because that bolt gun is nothing more than another weapon system.
And they're not, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that's your school is not around that.
No,
right?
Because
like you said, when you tell your students, is like, I'm not an attorney, right? I'm not teaching you tactics, right? What you are teaching is when that officer makes the decision
that it's go time.
That it's go time to take the shot, that he possesses all the fundamental ability to take that shot.
Exactly.
In that situation. And that's exactly how I taught my hunters when I was working for Gunworks, is, hey, when you come to this school, I'm not teaching you how to hunt. Right. Yeah. And, guys that can afford a guide, you're paying that guide to give you that opportunity, find you that opportunity to take a shot. But when that opportunity presents itself, you are no longer hunting. Right. You are applying the fundamentals of marksmanship at long range in a hunting scenario.
Yep, exactly. And that's really why I give them the same kind of spiel in the very beginning. And there's some people that resonates with, and there's some people that are going to vehemently disagree, and that's fine. You can have that opinion, but I will say that a military sniper, with the exception of the use of force, I might even caveat that, because during my deployment, we had probably even more restrictive ROE than some law enforcement officers do. I mean, there were certain points in time, like before we deployed, I was actually kind of nervous. The way the JAG, Judge Advocate General, which is, for you guys who don't know what that means, it's a military attorney. They scared the shit out of us. Because we were like, I don't want to go to jail for murder. Right? So this is a big deal. And we didn't get nearly as much of that training as a law enforcement officer does. But it was pretty restrictive. And it would go from, hey, today it's any military age male. You are the one that makes the discretion whether, period, end of story. It doesn't matter whether he's got a gun or doesn't have shit. Shoot him. And then you have at the middle of that day, you could get a radio call and say, whoa, ROEs are backing way down, hostile act, hostile intent. Okay, well, what is that? Right? So we do have those things happen to us in the military. And that's really I really think that's the only thing that delineates us. I do. It's not much. It's the same skill. It should be the same mindset. Because it really is. It's all mindset.
I think too, when I went to, these schools, one of the benefits of attending some schools, especially with instructors that actually gave a damn, right, and that have experience, not only was there the training side of the house and being a subject matter expert in that specific field or craft, there's also an awesome mentorship aspect, which is what I think, we provide when we are actually dealing with other snipers. Right. When you're not going to a civilian for shooting school, right? Yeah, there's a lot of great, competitive shooters out there that are just teaching shooting. Well, I guess what I feel like I can teach you shooting too, but I can also mentor you. Exactly. Right? Because I've been in your shoes of being a volunteer. I've been in your shoes of understanding, hey, we don't have the budget to send you to training. We don't have the budget to get you the things that you want. So you got to make do with what you have.
Let's figure out how to help you.
Exactly. Get there. Yeah. And, I can help you navigate what I did when I was that, corporal or sergeant that, just didn't know. Yeah. That, one of the things that I'm looking forward to doing is, assisting you when I can with, those classes because, obviously that everyone knows that I'm no longer working for Gunworks. It's a great company. One of the things that I always told, my close snipers is that, my heart belongs to people hunting two-legged critters, not four-legged. And hopefully, as unpolitically correct as that sounds, like that's what modern day snipe. That's what this podcast is about. What we do. Right? It's what we did, what we do, and there's still people out there. There's bad people out there, and there's good people that I want to train to hunt those bad people. That's right. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, so. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's fun. I love teaching those classes just because you can really, we always feed off of the class, right?
Feed off the energy of the class.
And, it's cool to get those guys motivated and see them, get excited about coming to shoot and coming to train. Just because you're helping breathe some new life into there. And that's really what it's all about, is just getting different perspective.
Yeah. But it's also important to take that momentum and build upon it. Yes. Right? And sustain, because, shooting for sure is a perishable skill. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And, one thing that I've been hearing a lot lately, and I never really thought about this until my cousin came through in July 4th, and she saw my studio set up, and she's like, you know what, Phil, I really like that you've invested in yourself. I've never ever heard that before, like put it in that term before, mm-hmm. And I'm like, holy shit, like yes, this is an investment of myself. Like I'm investing into myself when I started competing, right? Because like the military wasn't paying for that shit. Mm-hmm. Like I paid out of pocket for my first bull rifle. Before all these, sponsorships and stuff like that, like I literally bought everything. Mm-hmm. Everything that I've acquired now, I look at it as like, yeah, that's a piece of kit that I first bought, and I looked at it as an investment toward my training, mm-hmm. And my experience. And absolutely. Honestly, like I can't recommend, to people enough, especially, the scapegoat is like, oh, the unit's not going to pay for it. That's fucking horseshit, and, if you're serving in a billet, like you should probably seek employment elsewhere, right? Because you're doing no one any good.
You're occupying space.
Yep. There's someone that's hungrier, than you, and everyone's replaceable, 100%. And I know that for a fact.
Absolutely, man, for sure.
Regardless of how great you are replaceable. There's someone that's hungrier than you, that it's easily take your job, and I learned that on day one of being in the cyber platoon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's also, you can't ever judge a book by its cover.
Nope.
So, no, it's fun, man. I love it. I love those classes, and it feels good to give back to kind of continue to spread the web. And again, it's not like it's a my way or the highway type thing. It's just, hey, this is a different perspective.
It's another tool for your toolbox.
Yeah, you can use it while you're here. I'm not even like, it's funny, man. Some of these guys, they come up and they're like, man, like, you don't yell at anybody. And I'm like, people yell at you?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah. I'm like, it's whatever. Like, and we can learn a different way, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm not here to, if it doesn't work for you, man, then don't do it, right? And so as long as you give it a try, like you try a new grip, or you try a different trigger finger placement, or you try a different body position, or try a different technique with a sling. It's like, hey, if it works, great, use it. If it doesn't, we'll figure something else out. That's what I'm here to do. Yeah.
Sometimes I miss being Staff Sergeant Velayo, though. And Sergeant Velayo. Sometimes I just want to be like, come here, pig, and like,
keep over here.
Face on the gun, stuff like that. But no, it's the same thing. I think once I exited the Marine Corps, I left the uniform on base, and as much as I appreciate the service that I did to our country, and the valuable lessons that I learned, I do it all over again. But when I left the gates of Camp Pendleton, Staff Sergeant Velayo died with it, and I'm not using my experience in my career to define who I am. I'm using it to elevate the person that I want to become. Exactly.
And sometimes that's really hard for people to figure out. Like, that's not easy. That's not an easy switch to throw.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes, you see Marines that have gotten out 10 years ago. And they're still pretty belt fed.
That's the term that I was waiting for you to drop that term.
It's like, so
the way I threw in an analogy too.
You explain it. I want to hear what you say.
Okay, so belt fed. When you're in the service, right? When you're actually in the service, when you look at someone that's belt fed, you immediately think drill instructor, right? You're like, man, that dude's belt fed. But now that you're out, right?
He's spitting out moto
stuff. Maybe he wasn't a drill instructor, but like you can tell he's got still like Marine Corps-ism manners and the way he says stuff. Yeah, but bro, you're belt fed. Yeah. So I when I walk around, I want someone to like take a second look when it comes out that I'm a Marine. It's not immediate, right? It's like, or they're like, damn, you were a Marine, not like in a bad way of like, dude, you're a shitbag, but it's like, people are just like, holy crap, I would have never guessed.
Yeah,
I think it's because of
into a couple people like that.
Asian genetics too, right? That helps me stay young. Although today you whooped my ass on a few runs, or all the runs. Said a few runs, all of the runs, all of our 50-meter sprints.
We're gonna.
He whooped my ass on.
We're gonna start climbing some hills here shortly.
Some calves, man. I've got a man crush on Caylen's calves. If you haven't seen Caylen in shorts,
so weird. It's so weird.
Yeah, that's that bromance that we have, from our community. But
it's from climbing mountains.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what else did we have? Did we have any other questions?
I don't know. I don't have service in here. Do you have any questions?
Well,
that you've gotten.
So lately? the one guy was asking about the count. We knocked that down.
Yeah. Maybe we can start doing some live stuff.
We could, yeah. That's something else that we did one with recoil. We did with Mark Gordon and a couple other folks. Yeah. That went really well. People asked some really good questions.
Ooh, you know what? That I like kind of said this the other night when I was actually taking the time that I have now to watch your schoolhouse videos. Guys, if you're listening, and this is, if you want to call it a shameless plug, but at the end of the day, it's safety, right? Caylen does an excellent job, and Brian, if you're listening to this, you did a fantastic job video editing, because I know how hard that is right now. But Caylen, you did a fantastic job on illustrating safety in your free webinar. And honestly, now when people ask me like, hey, what gear, I'm looking to do my first match, like what gear should I, you know what, I'm gonna be like, hey, before you even ask that question, you should ask, what should I do to be safe at a precision rifle match?
100%.
Because honestly, everyone's focusing on the wrong thing. You need it. You need to check out that video. Go to moderndaysniper.com. Check out the schoolhouse. It's in there, and literally, Caylen gives you two free videos.
2-3 videos now.
Cleaning the rifle, which is another big question I get all the time.
Yep.
And firearm safety.
Yep.
Right. And so you'll see how those videos are laid out. But yeah, I mean, they're free, guys. Free.
We're gonna keep adding to that too. We're gonna keep adding to that free content. We got a lot of really cool projects in the hopper. You know, the online schoolhouse has been extremely productive for us, and it's a great way to connect with people. And I'm just really happy the way that the courses were laid out and the way the curriculum flowed. And we're gonna keep doing it.
Dude, you did a great job on it. I don't envy that workload, as Alex Hartman said in one of our podcasts, because it's true. I mean, it takes a lot to do that, to build something that doesn't exist.
It does.
And especially with what's going on in the world right now, I think that's the way to go for training.
It was like, you know, having Brian out here was awesome, because could you have done that yourself? Yeah, you sure could, but it would have prolonged the duration of pre-production, capture, post-production for sure, because I'm learning how to edit myself, and you know that's a freaking full-time job.
It's not the highest and most effective use of your time.
It is not.
Right. What are you good at? You're good at delivering communication.
Yes.
You're good at not only just shooting, but you're good at being in person and taking this information and turning it into digestible bites, especially with long range. A lot of people are intimidated about getting into long range because there's so much of this technical information out there that, I mean, doesn't technically need to be out there, but it's, I mean, honestly, it's simple.
That actually brings up a good point. I want to finish the thought really quick though on what we were talking about just before that, with regard to, oh man, I'm having a brain fart.
Filming.
Filming. Yeah, when Brian was here, it was like when we really started to dig into that, to like what it was going to take. It was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
This is a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the one thing that I wanted to chat real quick with you guys, the listeners, about is a trend that we've been seeing the last couple of in-person courses that we've had, and people are, we have lunch conversations and stuff, and just BSing, and people were like intimidated. They're like, man, I really was super scared about coming here because I didn't want to be that guy.
Oh
right?
yeah.
And for me, that's a bizarre thing to witness and listen to, because I just don't think that way. I look at it from the perspective of like when I was going to flight school, right? Learning how to fly airplanes. Well, you're kind of in another class, but you're with somebody else, and you have to be able to put that stuff aside and not worry about, hey, what happens if I make a mistake, or do I want to be that guy? No, you can't do that. You have to focus on learning, and you have to be totally accept the fact that I'm trying to learn this, and I need to be kind to myself. So for those of you guys that are out there that are thinking that coming to a class is intimidating, or you think you're going to have the majority of the people there are going to have a higher skill level than you, man, don't even worry about that. It's not about that. It's, please just show up. If you're considering it at all, just show up. The curriculum that we've designed is there to challenge everybody from the ground up. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So even if you're coming to a basic level course and you truly are a basic shooter, or you're kind of like you know, you're like, I just want to up my game a little bit. You do come to like a Precision Rifle 101. The curriculum is designed to challenge both of you, right? So don't even worry about being like everybody's there to have a good time, right? And that's really the end all be all. Like we're here to have a good time. We're here to have fun. We're shooting rifles. So just remember that. Don't feel intimidated. Just show up.
You know, one thing that I posted a question on my Facebook, and this is the little teaser of one of our projects we got coming up. But you know what the most common mistake an experienced shooter, and when I defined experienced shooter on my thread, I was like, you've been doing this for like at least a minimum of 3 years before you comment and, you know, give your advice. And you've been doing it for 3 years religiously. And guess what the most common essentially mistake or advice a experienced shooter would give to a new shooter? Seek formal training sooner.
Yeah. And
you know, guys, it's your own ego that is not allowing you to make the jump, right? And you know, it doesn't have to be from modern day sniper, but you know, if you've got any, you know, reputable courses in your very area on the East Coast, you know, we recommend Ridgeline Defense. Those guys, Rudy and Alex out there. If you're in Central, check out Jacob Bynum. And obviously, if you're in the Pacific Northwest, check out Caylen here with Modern Day Sniper.
You got Frank
Alley in Colorado. You know,
you got Brian Whalen down in New Mexico. He's Colorado as well, Southern Colorado. There's tons of good trainers out there. So
just take the leap, and I promise you'll walk away with someone, and you know, hopefully from there it just validates the fact that I should have went to training earlier. But it also steepens your learning curve, right? And then eventually, hopefully, you know, if you have a passion for going to seek instruction. Like a great friend of mine, Sean Utley, a great student of the trade. He's been through a lot of courses, and what's cool about him is he's been in the industry a lot longer than I have, but he's still going out there seeking instruction on his own dime. It's super cool.
Sean's a good dude. I like him.
So
fantastic.
Well, does that wrap it up, dude?
I think so, man. Let's do it. We're at like 122, so that's cool. We've covered a lot of information. We got a little mix of some technical stuff. We got a little bit mix of.
Can you post an hour video on YouTube?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. Let's see.
Cool. I'm excited for this first video to get pushed out.
Indeed.
Do we have a little trailer bumper in front of it? We gotta get one made up.
Yeah, we'll get one made up.
We just need a bunch of B-roll.
We're gonna need a bunch of B-roll, right? It's gotta cover the variety of the stuff that we do.
We'll just push this out there. No editing needed, and then we'll get it on a podcast for our audio learners. But
here pretty quick.
Yeah, I'm excited for this first video for you guys out there.
Awesome, man.
All right, guys. Hey, if you guys like this, please share it. Share it with a friend. That's, you know, Caylen and I do this obviously for free. We don't push sponsors out there and stuff like that.
Not at all.
So, you know, I only ask that you share it if you thought this was valuable. And, you know, you guys know the drill. Keep your face on the gun.
Shoot well. Till next time. Bye, everybody.
Peace. Dude, that was dope.